We will get started. I will admit people as we go. As a reminder, for those who don't know me, I'm Mark Sandig. I'm the team leader at Legacy Group here. And today is all about strengthening relationships. So as we get started here, I'm gonna introduce you in just a second. Let's spend just a couple minutes in your room. So we're gonna take 3, 4, 5 minutes, and I'll give you a warning. Because this is a class, it's 2 parts. It's get some content, and then it's let's engage with our people. Let's do some outreach. Let's be proactive. So I'd love to have 4 or 5 minutes of conversation in your rooms with around the topic of basically how's it going? What are you running into? What questions are you having as you seek to be proactive with your people, whether leads or with your contacts. So take 4 or 5 minutes, just do a check-in. How are you doing? Are you feeling encouraged, discouraged? What questions do you have? Let's discuss.
Can I add one favor of you? Because I didn't get a chance to do it. Give me some water.
All right, folks, take another 30 seconds and wrap up conversation in your rooms about kind of what you're seeing and what you're experiencing in your lead gen and lead nurturing efforts. Any other comments from here? Welcome, Preston. All right, Well, the theme in our room, and I'll call on Rob in a minute, and then Karen from Living. Theme from our room was some discouragement. People aren't responding. I get in touch with folks, they're pre-approved, and then they just kind of fizzle out. So some discouragement as the market evolves and the way that people are engaging with that. What about Living or Elevate? What are you guys seeing?
We've had some good traction on converting calls to appointments and focusing on the 80-20, recognizing what's not in the 20 that we're spinning our wheels with.
What are a couple of those things?
Michael?
So I think one of the things that I heard you say from your particular site was just sometimes you can feel discouraged with respect to you're working with people and then all of a sudden they just ghost you. So looking forward to maybe just trying to understand how to build a better stickiness factor with people such that they're at least sharing information and it's a good two-way street versus us constantly just trying to reach out and it feels like you're spinning your wheels.
Good. Did you catch that?
Yep, sure did. Thank you,
Okay,
Michael. That was great. Rob, how about for you guys over at Elevate?
Yes, so for us, it's been mostly, I mean, doing open houses and that, just trying to be where the buyers are. And making it known, not being secret agents, whether we're at a restaurant or if we're at church or, regardless where we are, just letting people know we're in the business.
That's great. Knowing that part of this class is accountability and having a partner that you're checking in with. And I think sometimes as the weeks go on, it can be easy to fizzle on that. But as I hear some discouragement or some need to continue to focus on the 20%, I'll just double down and say accountability matters more than ever when you're in that sort of headspace or where you're feeling like you're banging your head against a wall a little bit, because it's easy to make excuses as the weather changes, as a buyer discourages you. And so having someone that's saying, hey, are you still doing the things that you need to be focusing on? More important than ever. And I know that you would identify with that. Let me intro what we're diving into today, and then I'm going to intro Melissa. So basically today we've talked lead gen, lead conversion, internet leads, kind of database stuff. And today we're shifting the conversation from leads to contacts, which we'll dive into in a few minutes. So basically kind of four main takeaways from today's conversation is apply follow-up principles for your leads to your contacts, create a 36 touch plan, design and use MOFers that generate interest. We'll talk more about what that is and what that means a little bit later. And then develop a strategy to grow the number of contacts in your database. So moving from leads to contacts. As I intro that, let's just take a couple minutes. I'd love to hear what are a couple of questions or things that you're curious about that you'd like to make sure that we hit on in today's conversation. Anyone can chime in.
London said, just in general, learning how to build relationships and building rapport.
Cool.
How often to contact without annoying people? Obviously, that's going to change from person to person, but in general.
How often to contact people without being annoying?
Yep, frequency.
There you go.
What else? Any from this room?
How to prevent people from ghosting you. Okay.
I kind of need to learn how to be more pushy without being too pushy. If that makes
Persistence. Yeah, persistence without pushiness.
yes.
Yeah.
That's basically where we're at too, Marcus, how often to do it and without coming across as, I guess, being pushy.
Yeah. No one wants to be pushy and no one wants to be pushed. So let's tackle that for sure. Anything else?
How to bring value.
How to bring value, Preston said.
Was that you're gonna say, Rochelle? Okay, good.
×2. All right, that's good. Anything else? Great. Well, we'll do our darndest, won't we?
Yeah.
Before we go any further, I'm joined, and our camera is always a little bit awkward, so I'm gonna see if I can get it to behave a little bit better for us. Joined by the lovely Melissa Steiner today, because I think Melissa does this stuff at a high level. Before we kind of dive into the agenda of things, Melissa, give us a flyover. Who are you? Give us your background. What do you enjoy doing beyond real estate? And then we'll talk about your real estate business more specifically.
I'm Melissa Steiner. I've been with Keller Williams for over 2 years now.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah,
September, August of 20.
yeah,
Yeah.
about the same time as you came.
Uh-huh.
And then I started real estate in 2017 with another brokerage that did not have the training. And I always wished that I could have started with Keller Williams at the beginning, because I think I would have been a lot further ahead. You guys in here are very lucky to have a class like this that's helping you learn. Because the biggest thing with real estate is your foundation and making sure that foundation is strong. And I believe Keller Williams definitely provides that value with you guys. As far as what I like to do, outside of real estate, I kind of eat, breathe, and sleep real estate. Even on my off times, I usually try to do things with my previous clients. I reach out to them quite a bit, and there's quite a few clients. I'll go out to dinner, go out to lunch, go out to coffee. I went to a haunted house with one a couple weeks ago. Just random stuff that I would normally do with like.
Was it a
friends.
showing or was it actual haunted house?
You know, honestly, the way the floor was, I felt like I was walking in a house. But I felt it wasn't as fearful because I knew it was a haunted house and I wasn't gonna fall through. So, but it was fun going with the previous client because she's
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, doesn't this remind you of this house? So, yeah. Yeah, I was on bowling.
Bowling prodigy.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I guess. I kind of sprained my finger the last time though, so I don't know.
Melissa is one of those people, a lot of people say, oh, they're not my clients, they're my friends. And for some people, it's like, whatever, you don't actually live that way. Melissa truly does live
Yeah.
that way, which is part of why I wanted to have her be part of today's conversation. Tell me about scope of your business. How many deals do you hope to close this year out with?
I hopefully, my goal was 50. I'm hoping to at least close 45 or a little bit closer to 50. I'm hoping. And so average, I closed probably, I was stuck at 30 units a year, like every single year for like 4 years in a row. And then finally this year, I finally broke through the glass ceiling. I think in July, I finally had my 30 sold. So that was exciting. And then now I'm hopefully going to close at least 45
Mhm.
minimum. I
Mhm.
should close
Mhm.
45.
Melissa, she, you know, one of our values at KW is that we're learning based and we're growth minded, and few people embody that as well as Melissa, in my opinion, at our brokerage. There's a hey, I want to get coaching, I want to be held accountable, I want to attend the class or the event where I'm going to get better. And your growth is no accident. So it's.
Are you an
been-
independent agent?
Yes, I am an independent agent. I have an unlicensed assistant that literally, like without him, I don't know what I would do. I don't even know if I could live my life anymore without him. I mean,
Dominic Fulcher Laundry.
right. He actually did help me find hiking boots last year.
Hey.
Yes, that was one of his first jobs. I was like, you're full-time now. I sprained my ankle, find me some boots. I won't do this again. And he found them for cheap.
Before we go much deeper and ask another question of the room, going from, you know, a lot of people in this room most people in this room have not done 30, let alone 50, but you talked about breaking through the glass ceiling. So maybe someone's done 4 and they're hoping to get to 10. What changed in you, in your mindset, in your focus, in your activities to close to double your business?
I think that the biggest thing, it is building relationships, because when I was trying to do everything on my own, there were a lot of people that I would show houses to, and then I'd forget about them. And then a month or two later, I'd be like, oh my goodness, what happened to those one people I spent like days with? And that's why the main reason I got an assistant was to help me with my lead follow-up. So that's my mindset of, I don't want to leave people, like, I don't want to leave money on the table. I mean, once you spend so much time with the client, the last thing you want is for them to, to forget about them, and then they're gonna just go and find somebody else.
Mhm.
So I would say that that's the biggest thing.
And I would add to it based upon what I've seen in your business, relationships with your people, but also relationships with people that are helping your business. So obviously an assistant, but she's also been thoughtful. Hey, I can't be in 2 or 3 places at once. Is there another agent that can help me
Yes.
with that?
Yeah.
KW, we talk about succeeding through others, and I think you've taken good, thoughtful, intentional steps in that direction.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The agents that help me, it's like I couldn't do it without them, because I do leave town once in a while, and then when I am in town, I can't be in 2 places at once. And it's like, you want to be able to work around your client's schedule, and you can't split like an amoeba. So having other agents help you, like even if you're newer, like you don't want to miss your birthday with your family, you need to have other agent relationships that you can depend on. So that way you can reach out and say, hey, I have my birthday this weekend. Can you please help me out? And hopefully those agents will help you out. And you help them.
Yeah,
It goes both ways.
Awesome. So as we dive in and talk more specifically about relationship with contacts, and we'll differentiate contacts from leads in a minute, or have more of a conversation. Leads are basically people that you're working to get in touch with and build a relationship with. Contacts are people where there's it's not a random thing if you get in touch with them. They're expecting you, there's some context for the relationship, and we'll talk more about that specifically in a few minutes. But mindset matters. Everyone just talked about, or a number of people said, hey, how do we do this without being pushy, being salesy, being slimy? I think Chris Mascarino talked about last week. Take a couple minutes in your room. Let's take 4 minutes on this one to discuss both negative and positive mindset. So what are the negative, what's the stinking thinking we can fall into as it relates to getting in touch with and nurturing those relationships? Spend a couple minutes on that. And then conversely, what are the positive beliefs that are important to hold in order to move things forward? So take a few minutes, and I'll give you all a 30-second warning in a minute. Sound good?
Anyway, so I'm just working that out.
Let's shift over. If you haven't already shifted over to talking about positive thoughts from negative, please do that. We'll take a couple more. All right, let's begin to reconvene here. Karen, what did you guys discuss? Let's talk about negative mindset that you guys had to work through.
Well, we had, I'm a new agent and I don't have enough experience. We had, I'm bothering them. We had, what else did we have? We had a number of different thoughts here.
They don't want to hear. from you.
They don't want to hear from me. Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Rob, how about you guys? Negative thoughts.
Pretty similar as far as, you know, they don't want to hear from us. When we do talk to them, they already know we're in the business. What do we say to them again and again and again? So those sorts of things.
Mhm. Yeah, we were similar. We didn't want to take advantage, people to feel like here comes someone with a multi-level marketing situation and don't want to take advantage, don't want to bother. The I'm new one is good. What can I, they know that I'm new. I'm what value do I have to bring? Easy to slip into that one. What about on the positive side? What are positive reframes? What are positive mindsets that are important to hold to have strength in as we seek to strengthen relationships? Rob, I'll go back to you.
All right, there we go. One for us was just thinking about when we get a phone call from someone in a different profession, just how it makes us feel that someone's thinking of us and reaching out. So just keeping that in mind when we're making the contacts, that we're not annoying, we're not being persistent, we're just curious, and we're just trying to keep a relationship going.
Curious, that's the word we didn't use. That's good. I like that. Karen, how about you guys?
We came up with, I bring value. Today's gonna
Mhm.
be a great day. They want to hear from me. What else did we have? Yes, if we don't know the answer, we know someone that does.
Yeah, that's a great counter to the I'm new. I don't know anything. Wait, no, I've got a coach, I've got, a broker, I've got resources,
Right.
a team behind me. That's great. Anything else?
We are newly trained, so we are most up to date on the laws and the rules of real estate. Then perhaps a person that has been in business for 25 years.
Boy, that's the truth. And real estate, unlike many industries where years of time does not necessarily equal experience. I did the deal last year with a lady that had been licensed for 23 years. And when I asked her about a very normal thing, she says, in all my 23 years, I've never been asked to do that. And I was asking her to be in touch with the lender and she's like, oh, I just let the lender do their thing. And I'm like, hello. And then you look, it's like, oh, she's done one deal a year for 23 years. So, many of you have more experience than she does simply because you're dialed in and you're actively engaged. So, years don't mean much. Melissa, I'd love to shift over to you. So we said similar things. Jesse highlighted something in addition to what you guys shared, that they want to support my business. I think we think about, hey, we're all small business owners here. And the average person that I know, they're not angry. They're not wanting me to fail. Conversely, they want me to succeed and to support my small business, which I think is a great point to highlight. Melissa, as you think about strengthening relationships, making friends, not just clients, talk with me about mindset for you. What's important for you to remember? Because Melissa has a goal of contacting 100 people a week, and she does it every week. She's just in a zone, and she reports to me every weekend on what she did. So you live in this space.
Yes.
Talk with us about mindset for you.
My mindset is, once again, like, I think I said it off camera. I think that I used to think that I was bothering people, and now I realize, like, the more I do, like, reach out to people, it's actually strengthening the relationship and proving to them that if they hire me as their agent, I'm gonna be there for them. I'm always available. And then also I use a lot of command in the notes. So like if I talk to Joe Smith, I'm gonna write on there, Joe just bought a car, needs 6 months to build his credit up. That way, when I call Joe, I can say, hey, so how's your new car going? You doing, and I kind of like actually try to get into their personal life and note it on command. So I have something to talk to them about personally. And really just being there and answering questions for people that sometimes I don't get in touch with them, but they're opening up my MLS searches and stuff. And then when I finally do, I mean, they'll be like, oh my goodness, I've been opening your searches for 2 years. I'm so glad to hear from you. Is this the Melissa Steiner? And I'm like, yes, this is the Melissa Steiner.
I'm here.
It almost makes them feel like they're important now,
Hmm.
because now they got a call directly from me and not just from my assistant or just an email. So
That's profound, actually. I think, it all goes back to the basics. And if all you're doing is pinging someone every once in a while, that's not relationship. That's sales. That's trying to squeeze a transaction out of someone. Hey, did you know? But you just said two things that were profound that I'd love to hit on. One is the mindset of it's not just about this call right now, it's about the relationship. So get over your crappy mindset and say, hey, I can't strengthen a relationship with someone that I'm not in contact with. It's not about making the contact, it's about strengthening relationship. And so my effort today, I don't want to call this person because I haven't spoken with them in a while. What shot do I have at strengthening it if I don't make that effort?
right.
I think that's that's really profound.
Yes.
I don't know if you meant to be profound or not.
Yeah.
And then conversely, yeah, emails and texts and phones, when someone's hearing from you some form or fashion consistently, and then personal touch is inserted into that, it has the opportunity to feel like a bigger deal. You still have the people that aren't going to answer that call, but to me, that's like, hey, if there's not a monthly newsletter or a bi-weekly neighborhood nurture or whatever that thing is, that gives you the opportunity to be famous in someone's world,
Yeah.
and that's not the goal. But that's deep.
I mean, in a way it is, because you want to become popular. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, I realized, like, I want to be popular. I want people to know my name. So whether it's them scrolling through an email and seeing my name, or scrolling through Facebook, seeing my name and my videos. I mean, I just want people to be like, Melissa Steiner, Melissa Steiner, Melissa. Like, I gotta get in front of them and them to like recognize my name. And then when I do reach out to them, they feel important, at least I'm taking time out of my day to talk to them. And I always make sure they know, listen, if you're not ready to buy a house now, I'm in this is my lifelong business. So, we'll keep in contact. How often do you want me to call you? And I will ask, is it every month, 6 months, just to find out, like, get their permission on how often they want me to check in with them. That's another thing that I do.
Yeah, we'll talk more about kind of the life cycle of a contact later in the conversation. But yeah, that wasn't rehearsed, folks, but that was some good stuff right there.
Hey, Mark, can I add a great example for that real quick?
Please, Rob, that'd be great.
Yeah, so when I think of, so when you represent a buyer, you have a closed transaction. You typically, after the transaction, get a call from either 2 or 3 reps that have home security systems. So they literally will only call you after you close a deal. When you think about it, versus them trying to nurture that relationship with you as the agent when you don't have a deal. So, I mean, to me, it just infuriates me that I only hear from them when there's a closed transaction versus them trying to actually nurture a relationship with me.
Absolutely. And how many other industries work that way? I applied for credit recently for a mortgage, and then the whole world wants to talk with me. And that feels salesy, that feels pushy. And you clicked a search, and not that it's wrong to be responsive when someone is raising their hand, like that's a good thing, but with your contacts and with your relationships, it's an entirely different game. So just a quote here that's helpful. As we think about our building relationships with our contacts, we have to think about what we can control. We influence our emotional proximity to the people in our world. So emotional proximity, how near they feel, what's the relationship feel like, through our follow-up by controlling 2 things: the frequency and the intensity of our follow-up. That's it. That's what we can control. We can't control how people experience us. We can't control the thoughts that they're having on a given day, but we can control our efforts related to it. And I think in this conversation, because a lot of us do have defeater beliefs, I don't want to come across a certain way. Do those beliefs trump your goals? And an opportunity to get real and say, hey, I've got a goal, and does my stinking thinking about what they might think trump that goal? And if so, be honest. You got to be honest with yourself in that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's a plug for Bold. That's going to be the next class coming up in January as far as series go, that helps get you out of that space. So let's talk leads and contacts. So this is 12.3, kind of the second or third page that you guys are looking at. And I already mentioned this is an image from the lead gen model in the MREA. I mentioned it earlier, but let's talk briefly about the difference between leads and contacts. So leads are people that we're working to get in touch with. What does it say in your? So our goal with leads is to form relationships. Okay, it came through via Opcity, or I've got a Facebook form, something random, and my goal is to get in touch with them. And we use the 19 to connect plan there that we talked about, I think, last week. And then contacts, our goal is to strengthen existing relationships. That's your database is made up of those two things. And in the MREA, we talk about, you got two types of relationships. There's the Mets and the haven't Mets, people that know you and people that don't know you. And we're talking about strengthening relationships. Any thoughts or questions as we keep rolling? So Melissa hit it earlier. As we think about the difference between leads and contacts, with leads, what information do we typically have?
Name, phone number, email.
Contact information, just the basics. And we might have, they had an interest in that particular house because they clicked it. But that's it. We don't know anything about them. Conversely, what information might we have that might be valuable as it relates to contacts?
Personal things like wants and needs out of a home. Maybe even just family, like if they're married, how many kids they have.
Wants, needs, family situation. What else? What other information might we have that could be valuable in our process with them? And anyone on Zoom can chime in on that.
We heard birthdays, special dates like wedding anniversaries, home anniversaries, holidays for them. Mhm.
Melissa, as you think about strengthening relationships, and you mentioned a couple of things earlier, are there particular bits of information? You talked about taking notes and enabling you to follow up. Are there particular things that you look for as you think about strengthening relationships?
I think that I kind of get to know their financial situation. So I want to know, like, are they pre-approved? And how much? I also want to know any of their family that might be looking to buy or sell. I want to know if they're renting now or if they're, actually, wanting to list and buy. I always have birthdays, but that's usually once I've actually done a deal with somebody. Trying to think. I mean, I think I just, depending on how the conversation goes, I feel like when I just start talking to people, they kind of open up. So there's some people, I mean, they talk about their job, some people talk about their kids. I mean, and it's all that stuff, like our little notes that you put down. It's kind of like the Ford, the
Yep. Family,
family.
occupation, recreation, and dreams. Yep.
Yes,
Mhm.
so that's pretty much what I go off of.
In the Y4C2Ts, one of the C's is communication. And does anybody remember what the tagline underneath communication is? Seek first to understand. So I think you're salesy when you're saying, hey, got this promo coming up. Hey, you look into, it's the being transactionally one-sided in your communication. I'm calling to tell you something. Melissa doesn't do that. You might be saying, hey, I've got this thing coming up that I wanted to let you know about, but seeking first to understand means you're leading with curiosity and questions. Your secret power in building relationships is you actually seek to get to know folks.
Yes, I ask a lot of questions. I always feel like an interrogator probably,
Mhm.
but not really, because I'm not that big of an interrogator, but I do ask, I go deep.
Mhm.
Like if they say, they've owned their house for 30 years. Okay, so what would make you want to move?
Mhm.
Then I know why they want to move. So what would keep you to stay at your house? Now you know why they would want to stay in that list. If they talk about their kids, oh, what school district do you want them to be in? You just like, every situation is different. You just keep on asking questions and going deeper.
Let's go deeper on that. So the average, person in your database that isn't necessarily a past client, they may or may not be looking to conduct real estate business in the next year. How explicit are you with them about the real estate relationship, if that makes sense? What would they be looking for? Why would you be looking to move? Like, how much do you bring that up versus simply being in touch with them?
I think that I always ask them, so if you don't want to move for like a year or two, what is the reason? Like, I want to know, like, why are they choosing to rent and pay 100%, financing? Because they're getting, 100%.
Zero equity.
Yeah, there's zero equity.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's credit issues. So that's, something that I note down.
If you're just calling a friend from high school who they've not clicked on a search, they've not responded to something, how are you opening that to get to talking about their living situation? Putting you on the spot here.
I think I just open it up with, are you, have you thought about looking to buy or sell in the next year?
Mhm.
And then if they say, no, I'm here for life, I say, oh, well, life events happen. I definitely want to stay in touch with you. Would it be okay if I follow up with you? Every couple months. I'm trying to think I think it all depends on the person and where I got
Sure.
the lead from. I don't know. I mean, I asked just more or less like pretty much, do you have a family? Do you have kids? Do you have animals? Because if they're renting, they have animals, they need a house with a fenced in backyard.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I also sometimes ask, how much are you paying for rent? Has your rent increased? I mean, it's unbelievable. People can't hardly even live these days with the rent increases.
Mhm.
Wouldn't it be better to buy a home and have more of a mortgage that you're gonna count on and not have to worry about that increase in your monthly rent next month,
Mhm.
or next year when you go to sign your lease again? So I think I just talk about those things.
Mhm.
But I also like talk about holidays and the weather and, small talk. Like if I hear the dog in the background, oh, what kind of dog do you have? I mean, I really just, I have the gift
Well,
of just talking.
You do, but you honed it. And if you don't have that gift, Melissa's a very relatable person. You might feel like that's good for her. I'm not that way. I'm more introverted, or I don't have questions rolling off the tongue. And that's where role play and accountability comes in. Like we get better at those things through practice. You and I are more naturally conversational than some might be. So it may feel like that's an unapproachable thing. But when I just went deeper with her, just to reflect on that for a second, are you looking to buy or sell? Or would you be looking to buy or sell? Just that was not a rocket science answer.
Right.
You don't need to script that very much. How often are you like sworn at or get super smug, get away from me salesperson sorts of responses?
Not often at all.
Ever?
Like no, I've not ever. I personally haven't. I did get hung up on somebody yesterday, but it's because I was doing multiple things and I started the call off with, this is Melissa Steiner with Keller Williams Legacy Group. Because I was scrolling up to see the name of the person I was calling. I should have been multitasking while I was doing my calls,
Uh-huh.
but I do that. And she hung up on me. So then I called back. Like, so I'm gonna be bold.
Yeah.
Like I called right back and I was like, hey, so by then I had the notes on the account. I was like, my assistant talked to you on September 24th. You asked him to have me call you personally. I've been trying to get in touch with you. I want to have a conversation, answer all your questions. Please give me a call back. That way she knew I'm not just soliciting, I'm actually doing what she asked my assistant for me to do.
Mhm.
And yesterday he got hung up on somebody. We laugh when we get hung up on. But that guy like actually gave him all the stuff for the MLS, what the search was, gave him all the information. And then at the very end, I think he asked, how often do you want me to follow up with you or something like, just a basic question, and like click, he hung up. But at least we got all the information we needed.
It puts you in a
so-
position to do some sort of follow-up.
Right, exactly. So.
So.
Yeah.
You're just dropping nuggets here. The callback after getting hung up on, raise your hand if you would not have done that. It's all hands maybe should go up here. We take out when there's a smug interaction or someone says, I in college had an internship where I was selling insurance, and I'm calling my SOI, but I'm 20 years old, calling my dad's friends from church. And one of the guys, I don't, mix church and business, and like, well, never calling Mr. Matthews again. And that's a different example, but the mindset that you had to say, I'm calling you right back.
Right.
That should be a goal for every person in this room to say, what does it look like for me to have conviction in what I'm doing? System, you weren't cold calling. This is someone that you guys had spoken with a few weeks
Right.
back who had voiced something. And
Yeah.
so you you had a reason to say, no, it's like, I'm literally trying to serve you as you
Right.
asked for us to serve you. So I'm gonna get back on the phone with you because that's what you actually want.
Yes.
That's profound. And I think like Jeff Glover talks about, the nearer we are to rejection is the nearer we are to money. And most of us like to hang out in low rejection activities. I'm going to post something on Facebook and I'm just going to like be around, hope you think of me. That's a low rejection activity. Calling someone who hangs up on you and then calling them back is the highest possible rejection activity. And she's more likely to get business from that person than if you're just, posting in the background.
And the other thing I will add at the Glover U conference, I've not done this and I need to start doing it. It just jogged my memory though, what he said. If you call somebody and you're trying to get a hold of a lead that you have gotten on Boomtown or wherever, if they don't answer the first time, call them back a second time. The reason is the reason why people don't answer our phone calls the first time is because they don't know the number. And a lot of times it's just robocalling. Well, if you double dial them, they know it's not a robocall. They know it's somebody important.
So like back.
So, yeah, so you call, it goes to voicemail, hang up, and then call back again, because then they know it's not a robocall, it is a real person. So that's one thing I need to actually start implementing. So
Would you shoot a text or something? in
I
between
do
time?
that.
Okay.
So what I do is I call somebody, they don't answer, I leave a voicemail, and then I send them a text immediately afterwards. Hey, just left you a voicemail, want to talk and answer any of your questions you have about buying, selling your home, whatever. But yeah, so I do want to make that point. Sometimes double calling people, it might seem like you're bothering them, but it's not. It's just letting them know you're not a robocaller. So
Let's loop back to the conversation around Ford. I think it's easy for us to say, oh yeah, just Ford, just do that. If you're not as naturally conversational, Melissa, you've got the problem of getting in conversations that are too long with folks. You're like, oh, I'm trying to, crank through this because I want to make 100 contacts a week. And here, you get stuck on a 45-minute conversation because you actually build relationships. And I'm like, I hear that. I'm like, hey, you didn't hit your number goal, but you hit your depth. Like you're hitting depth there, and that matters. You can't do 45 minutes with every person.
right.
If Ford is not second language to you, meaning it doesn't just roll off the tongue. And this is something that my coach gave me. You need to write out actual questions. Because if you don't have a close relationship with someone and you're kind of winging it in conversation and you're not a natural conversationalist, it's gonna feel clunky and awkward. My coach with my role said, you need to have 25 questions that you just have down. And when they answer the question, where do you go from there? How's the school year shaken out? Terrible. Okay, if it's bad, what do we do here? If it's good, how do we respond here? And you don't want to become a robot. But we memorize, we internalize, and then we customize, as discussed before. And committing to writing down and practicing with an accountability partner the questions that you'd have to reopen the relationship. If it's not second language to you, that needs to be homework for you, because building relationships is more art than science, and art comes through repetition.
Yes. And definitely, like everybody in here, I know if you only have 2 contacts, I don't care. You do use command because you need your notes. Because even if it's going back and seeing, note your accounts, I don't know if you guys have ever worked in call centers, but everybody has to note their accounts that they work on. And it's because it's like, if you've left voicemails the last 5 weeks, you can open the conversation up and say, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of you. It looks like I've tried to call you for 5 times in the last month. We definitely needed to talk though. That way they know that they are important to you and you're keeping notes on what's going on in them.
Yes.
And you want every client to feel like they're your only client. That's the biggest thing. I mean, if you know information about them, they might think that you might be one of the only people that you're calling every week, just because you know so much about them. I just talked to a lady yesterday. We've been talking since 2017, and eventually she's going to get her payout out for some settlement, and she's going to list her house and sell and buy another one. And with her, she said, Melissa, she's like, I feel like we know each other. And I said, I know when we meet, it's going to be like 2 friends meeting for the first, after so long, because we've known each other, because we've been building that relationship since 2017.
But you've never met in person.
Never met her in person, but she opens my searches. I call her, Dominic calls her my assistant. Like, we're like, we're friends, you know? I had a girl last year, I talked to her for a year and a half. When we met the first time, she hugged me. She's like, I feel like you're my old friend. I love you. And it's just, we met on Facebook, literally through a Facebook campaign I did. And we just connected and we stayed friends. And I mean, she's one of my good friends now. It's crazy how like you can form that relationship over the phone. Don't like, and it has to be more than text. I know that I would rather text people all day, but having that time that you actually converse with people and get their tone and actually get a part of their life, find out where they're from. I mean, I have conversations about everything, where they grew up. Just every little bit of information you can get
Yeah.
from somebody shows that you care about them. Because everybody loves to talk about who? Themselves.
Mhm,
So,
mhm. Text can further a logistical thing. It can respond to a question, but it cannot create deep relationships.
right.
And so it's a helpful tool, but if that's your default, you're not building deep relationships.
I mean, even my assistant, so I was at the Glover U conference and he told me you need to call these, you know, he had, I don't know, it was probably 6 people or something he had wanted me to call. And I responded and I said, well, I texted them. He responded back to me and said, Melissa, I did not tell you to text. I told you to call.
Oh, Dominic.
I was like,
Yeah.
I was so mad, but I was like happy. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because like he caught me at it, you know, so that night after the conference was over, I went off by myself and I made those calls and called them and did not just text them. But so if you ever hire an assistant, just letting you know, make sure they know how to manage you as well, because that's very, very important.
Right, right. So we talk about the database as a garden. This is an analogy here. The database is a garden. Your leads are seeds, which then become plants. Roll with me here, roll with us here. And then the conversion is the harvest. And because we know that people transact real estate how often? Every 7 to 10 years. And so today's conversation, and I love that. I don't know if those of you on Zoom picked it up. Melissa made a Zillow contact 5 years ago. They've never met, but they have the level of relationship where they feel like they'll be long lost sisters
Yeah.
when they finally meet.
Yeah.
We have to have the long look. We're not doing now business, we're building a garden.
Yeah.
And if you're saying, hey, I'm just looking to fish, I'm just looking to snag a hot lead, we got to feed our families. Like, let's be real here. It's not all just years from now business,
Yeah.
but having the long look. My goal is to strengthen the relationship, and how will I do that if I'm not making contact with them is an essential mindset. And they may not buy for 5 or 7
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
or longer. 7 to 10 years is average, and it might be 14 years. But having the long look, say today's touch helps me move in that direction, which I think is so key to understand.
And sometimes when people ghost you, they're not ghosting you. They're just not ready yet. Your job is to find them motivated. And if they're not answering their phone, they're not responding to your text, a lot of times they're not ready yet. So keep trying to touch them, because when they are ready, you want to be there touching them. So that way you're the first person they think of. So don't think you're always getting ghosted. Because I had a client in my first year that I kept reaching out to, and I thought they didn't like me. Like, what did I do? And all of a sudden they called me one day and was like, hey, I know we haven't responded to any of your texts, but we really want to start looking at houses now. We just weren't ready because we had a busy summer. So, and then I ended up selling them a house in the fall. But here I thought they ghosted me, but they didn't. They were just not ready. So your job is to find them motivated and put your time in with the motivated. So if they don't answer their phone every time or to respond to you, honestly, it's saving you time because you don't got to talk to them, but at least you touch them and they know you're there still. So I'm sorry.
No,
I
this
talk
is
a
good.
lot,
You're
you
saying all the
guys.
good stuff, and I'm just
I'm
peppering it in. So I want you to think for a second. So we're in the what business?
relationship. building.
Relationship building business. Your database is your business. And if you don't have a database, then you don't have a business. You're taking out city leads and they're not going anywhere. Like, congrats, you're in a transactional business, but you're not actually in the real estate business. So think for a second, how many databases do you think you exist in? And as far as who you're getting some level of communication from with any level of frequency, just think for a second.
Like other people's databases?
Mhm.
Oh my.
Yeah.
You're
Of-
real-
And this isn't just real estate, insurance and the,
And that's
sports clothing.
That's why I block numbers.
Yeah. I get a lot of texts, yeah, from like companies, yeah,
Mhm.
insurance or clothing, yeah, shopping places. yeah.
Yep. We're all, and I'm not, a lot of people are militant unsubscribers. I'm not. Surprise, I'm not an organized person, and that's one manifestation of that. But how many times have you been called to action? Click here to get this thing, and you do that, but you don't buy the thing. You give the information, but you don't necessarily buy the thing right away.
Right.
I do that all the time. And I think we need to get out of the mindset that, oh, if someone doesn't respond right away, then they're not interested. Because for me, I'm in 100 databases. I have 12 loan officers that send me something with some frequency. It's probably hundreds of databases.
100, retail stores,
Yeah.
insurance companies, health insurance companies.
And am I more likely or less likely to do business with them as opposed to their competitor who's not in competition, in communication with me? More or less? More. And so I think we have to get through the mindset, oh, I don't want to be the bother. Say, no, my job is to be in contact, and I will eventually do business with this person. There's plenty of times I've been called, hey, sorry, I really, we haven't heard from you. I'm like, actually, I am interested. Now it's just not the time. I'm not an angry person who's, opposed to taking a call from a stranger. When I get called, I'm actually like, hey, good on you for the effort, because,
That's how I am.
they become a client for life, right? And that's awesome. So turn to 12.4. We're going slow here. The student guide doesn't have too much for you guys here. And we can see here with both buyers and sellers, what percentage only meet with one agent. You guys found that? 74% for sellers and 75% for buyers. Let's reflect for a minute. What does that mean? What should that mean? What do you take from that? Got to get in front of them. What else?
Keep that constant point of contact. Because if you are the one agent that they're meeting with, like you've gotta teach them. Whether buying or selling, you gotta teach them how to do it and, kind of stay on top of it. It's like, okay, when you want to pull the trigger, because if you just stop, they'll find somebody else.
Yes.
They'll be the two agent.
I'm assuming that this room or the Zoom folks cannot see this. But basically, Jose drew this a couple weeks ago, and I'm keeping it up here because it's so good. This was an internet leads conversation. So the average life cycle of an internet lead, sales funnel wise, is 18 months. So people live, and that's across all industries. Before I buy a pair of shoes on Amazon, I'm in that funnel for 18 months, meaning they know, and their community, the internet has gotten smarter. And so this is basically the relationship from someone buying and the proximity that they are based upon the type of lead. So the nearest is sign call. If someone calls a sign, says, hey, I want to learn more about this house. Like that's the hottest lead possible, because they're looking and they're curious and they're calling you about it. This is referrals. Hey, friend of a friend. Hey, I want to get in touch, have a relationship. Then Zillow, Realtor.com. So as far as internet leads go, they're as good as it gets. IDX leads, Opcity is out here, and then Facebook leads are out here. So as we think, the reason I bring this up, and the reason I left this up today, is because more of your people have more different type, they're in more databases. They're in 50 different realtors databases, maybe, out here. And Zillow's hitting them and realtors hitting them and they're out here. But if you live in here and you're conscious to stay in touch with them, you're gonna trump that, but only if you're staying in touch. You know, we've lost deals to other agents. We've lost deals via Zillow and via realtor other agents as well, simply because you didn't stay in touch. So this is if you stay here through your contact, you're in the 74 or 75% because people are always, you know, how recently have you sought a referral as it relates to a restaurant? Yesterday, I asked for a restaurant referral on Facebook, and that matters more than Google matters to me because people that I know are more likely to speak my language than Google is. And that happens through relational proximity. Any thoughts or other questions there as we talk about Mindshare?
Just remember these people over here, though, because a lot of Facebook leads, I personally don't do a lot of Facebook campaigns, but once in a while I do when I have a listing or something. But those people, they're just looking at pictures. But some days those pictures, they're interested, maybe not today, but they might get married next year. They might have a baby next year. They might get divorced next year. So even though they're a Facebook lead and they're really not interested today, you're still getting their information. So you can then reach out to them, build that relationship. So when life-changing events do occur, then they're going to come down over here where now they're going to be referring you to their friends. Like, oh, because if you get through a Facebook campaign, make sure you become a Facebook friend with them. Because if you become friends on Facebook, now you're liking their stuff, you're commenting, they can see your videos, get them into your world. And then that's, 18 months, definitely, I would say, for Facebook leads. So it's a long process.
Playing
It is.
a
It's-
long game.
Yeah.
So statistic here that probably will surprise no one, but we'll do some breakouts for 5 minutes and discuss. 2021, I'm on 12.15. I'm that's not for you guys, that's for us, sorry. 2021, NAR found that 47% of buyers who used an agent were referred to them by a friend, neighbor, or relative. And that number jumps to 57% for first-time home buyers. We need to be that recommendation. So I'd love to have a 5-minute breakout and pair up in 2s or 3s. Let's share ideas around being the one that people refer. So it's not just getting in touch with more people, but because most people are more likely to trust a referral than they are to trust Yelp or Google, what does it look like creatively, strategically, practically in order to be that referral? So how do we grow a referral business? Take 5 minutes, share ideas in 2s and 3s, and then we'll get back together. All right, in the next minute or two, move from your groups into the larger room to discuss and share ideas, and then we'll share kind of a few from each room. All right, let's reconvene here. And pull those conversations to a close. I see Karen coming back up. Share a couple of the ideas that you guys shared, living, and then we'll go over to elevate.
Some of our conversations were around, specifically ask for the referrals. Almost every single table said, ask for the referral. If you don't ask, you don't get. Stay top of mind with the people that you ask to refer you business. Build a relationship with them. And don't forget about those people that don't live in your area, state, or even perhaps country.
Yes, yes. The KW referral network is powerful that way. To Karen, I don't want to put that person on the spot necessarily, but when asking for referrals, do you recommend, or the person who shared that in your room directly, hey, do you know someone who's looking to buy or sell? Or more indirectly, hey, if you ever know anyone who is, keep me in mind. You go soft or hard, or any thoughts there from your room?
How do you ask for the referral? Ask directly. London says she asked directly. Do you know someone that's looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate? Okay. Any other comments?
Sometimes you can do it in response to something, like I had a buyer who was happy with me and said they had a friend who was unhappy with their, just pick up on that stuff in conversation and then respond.
That's good. Thank you. Yeah, I think my opinion on this matter is the more direct, the better, until you find that people are so off put by your level of directness, and then you dial it back a hair and experiment with a slightly softer, less direct approach. But if you live in the land of indirect, hey, if you ever, referrals are sweet, and keep it back in the space, they're not going to think of you. Whereas when you say, hey, do you know, you're not being a jerk, you're not being aggressive, you're not saying or else, but you're asking a very real question. Unless you do, Jesse. Rob, what about from your room? Referral generating business.
Yeah, Mark, so we talked about when we're actually working with someone, so Jason mentioned, last year in the hot sellers market, still being able to negotiate for his buyers and, provide a lot of cost savings. And it really goes back to being a professional, keeping in mind the fiduciary responsibility we have to our clients we work with. And at the end of the day, people don't remember what we say to them. They remember the experience we give them. So going back to, providing a high level experience for our clients is first and foremost. And, it's about creating raving fans. And once you do that, they're happy to share your contact information with people they know.
Absolutely. Anything else from your room?
No, that's it.
Rob, not to put you under the gun here, but talking about the fiduciary responsibility and then creating raving fans. Are you familiar with the promise?
Somewhat vaguely.
Okay.
Yes, I know, continuing to mention the promise as you work through, and if there's other members that are part of the transaction, that they mention the promise as well. So vaguely, yes.
Yeah, and for those that aren't familiar, and I'm not sure if it's been covered in this curriculum already, the promise is basically if you only ask for a referral at a particular moment. All right, after closing, here's your closing gift, congrats, and also can I have a referral, or following up a week later, that feels salesy. The promise is basically when you're establishing the relationship with a person, you're signing the buyer's agency agreement, you're signing the listing agreement, you're moving forward officially together. And it's, and I don't have it memorized, but something along the lines of, hey, I'm so excited to work with you. I know that we're going to provide an amazing experience for you because that's what I take pride in. And I promise to deliver that to you. And I'm making that promise to provide the best possible experience for you. If I do that, would you be willing to offer me both a review and a referral? And if you're willing to do that, that will show me that I've been able to provide the level of service that I wanted. If not, I'll want to better understand where I went wrong so that I can provide a higher level of experience to folks moving forward. So it's creating this expectation, and then you mention it throughout the transaction so that when the transaction closes, or even when you go under contract, you harness the moments where people are most excited and say, hey, do you know anyone? And that can feel salesy as you work through kind of those defeater beliefs, but it's, I'm delivering, who else in your world can I serve in this way? And that's a powerful thing to work into your business. You can chime in.
Well, I was gonna say, a lot of times I just tell people, like, I've had so much fun working with you, like, I would love to work with your family and friends too. So that way they just see, like, it's not really a salesy thing, it's more or less like, I choose who I get to work with, and I'm choosing to work with you and your family and friends. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that I do. The promise, though, I am gonna start implementing that more. I need to implement that more, because the promise, like, literally, I think it's 3 times in the transaction.
Yeah.
Right when you meet, and then right when you go under contract, and then right at the end.
Yeah.
I believe those are the 3 times that and I actually do have something, because I have it in my dot loop that I made, that's kind of like the promise, where it tells them where to leave my review, what referrals they're asking, or what referrals they know, and then asking their birthdays of their kids, everybody that they want to share. So that way I have it for their profile. So I did make a dot loop document that I'm gonna make everyone fill out. So. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, like towards the end, I'm gonna have my assistant send it out like before the end. And then if it hasn't gotten filled out, then again at the end, to make sure that it gets filled out. Because I'm going around like having to contact people, when's your birthday? I forgot to ask you, when's your birthday? And people feel like that's a security question. I mean, I got a pushback from a lady yesterday, and she's like, I just don't feel comfortable giving my birthday or social security number out. I'm like, Lord have mercy, don't ever give me your social security number.
I will never ask you for that. Yeah.
Right. And I said, I think I'm gonna pick a random, my response was, I think I'm gonna pick a random date for everyone that doesn't want to share their birthday, and just mail them birthday cards on that day. And she said, LOL, my birthday is, and she gave me your birthday.
Just because you didn't share doesn't mean that I can't celebrate you. I love that. That's good. That's a great system. We talk about being a models and systems company. That's a system saying, this is information that I will get. Here's how I'll get it. If I don't have it, here's how I'll follow up to make sure that I get it. So that I can stay in touch and build relationships in meaningful ways. That's systematizing success. A couple referral ideas from this room. We talked about the importance of business to business referrals. So when you visit a small business, take a picture and of you there or of them there, thank them, give them a shout out on social media, because the law of reciprocity means that they're likely to feel indebted and want to do that for you as well. And we had some folks in the room that literally got business kind of from one another that way, or with one another that way, which is pretty cool. Talked about being top of mind with a recipe card or some sort of thing that they can keep and have in their house that's gonna you're going to be visible, and when someone's talking about real estate with them, they're more likely to say, oh, Chanel's magnet is on my fridge. I got one just yesterday from an Elevate agent, actually, Rob, and it wasn't a recipe card, it was a measurements conversion card, which is like, no, that's more likely to stay up there, because a recipe may be a one-off. Oh, I didn't like that recipe, in the trash, but who needs help converting what to what? And
if you get on markful.com, that used to be House of Magnets, they have magnets for everything. I've done that one's there, the measurement one. There's a bunch that they have, though, even like babysitter, like if you, like, a lot of your clients have kids, like emergency phone numbers. I mean, and I'm gonna say that every client that I've been to their house, they all have my magnets on their fridge. And I got to the point where I was sending out magnets so much, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a decorative, like. So I'm kind of backing off of the magnets for a minute, and I'm doing magazines now. But I'm telling you what, I'm doing a magnet calendar though. So, but people do hang those magnets up on their fridge.
What was the name of the company, Melissa?
It's House of Magnets is what it used to be, but it's called Markful,
Thank you.
MARKFUL.com. And that's, you can get your car magnets there, but they do football schedules, baseball schedules. I mean, every magnet, they have ones with like different smiley faces of like what mood you're in. You know what I mean? They have like some really cute different magnet stuff though that you can get.
Mhm. We're not a family that keeps magnets on our fridge, but just because we're not, doesn't mean that most people aren't, or that the right people aren't. And so that's a. that's a
And
good
I
one.
got my neighbors, because I solicit my like neighbors like right in my area. Not all my whole area, but just like probably the 7 houses around me that's closest. And they had my magnet on their fridge, and when they found a for sale by owner through their family and was really excited, they needed to find out how much their house was worth. They called me at like probably 8 o'clock one night and was like, your magnet's on our fridge from where you mailed it, and we're just calling to see if you could help us out. And I ended up selling their house. They were wonderful neighbors, but I'm not real friendly with my neighbors
Yeah.
because I talk a lot, as you guys can see. And when I go outside, I don't have time to talk.
Yeah,
I'm at my humble abode, like, don't disturb me, but I, send those magnets out. And that's why they called me over the realtor they just used like 2 years prior.
well, and you're more likely to put the magnet on your fridge of someone that you actually have some connection with, like the lady who sent it to me. I'm sure she does good business at Elevate, but I don't personally know her.
Right.
And I was like, I'm keeping it here because, I took a picture of it and I sent it to, I haven't yet sent it to Allison. Hey, good on you. You got people that are getting out there. But if you had sent it to me, it would be much more likely to be on the fridge. So as you think about, let me farm this community, like you communicate with the people that you know as a starting place, and then you go from there.
Yes.
That's a no brainer. Figure 12.5 or page 12.5, we talked about the 19 to connect, kind of moving someone from a lead to a contact. And then there's a comparison there with the 36 to convert. So to the earlier question about how often, what sort of frequency should I have in being in touch with my people, there's your answer. Kind of and I don't know the data on it. But basically it's proven 36 times a year is about the rhythm that you want. That's once every
Quarter.
no, well, it's a call every quarter, but it's once every 1.2 weeks, which feels high frequency to most. Oh gosh, I'm hardly in touch with them at all. And you need to work through that. And back to Melissa's earlier comment, how can I build the relationship if I'm not taking this activity today? And so if you're not currently in touch with your people, look yourself in the mirror, give yourself the slap in the face that you need and move forward, say, hey, am I committed to my goals or not? And so they break down here, and this is, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. The 36 to convert is 4 quarterly phone calls, and that's the Ford approach, deepening the relationships. If you do nothing, do that. They're then saying 26 biweekly emails. So moving from 12 monthly emails to a biweekly approach. You can do the same. We got the biweekly neighborhood nurture where they're just getting the same email every 2 weeks instead. You can do that, or you can say, I'm putting them on the monthly neighborhood nurture, and then I'm going to layer that with something else. I'm going to do a monthly neighborhood nurture and then a monthly personal newsletter that's a little bit more informative or fun and entertaining. Do you have thoughts or anything you do from an emailing standpoint, Melissa, that you want to highlight there?
I do the neighborhood nurture for sure. And even with listings, if you get somebody that's going to eventually list their house, ask them their address and say, hey, even though you're not ready to list now, let me get you set up on a neighborhood nurture. That way you can kind of see what your neighborhood's doing every month. That's really important. I text message though, at least once a month too.
Mhm.
Like, so not just emailing, but I do the quarterly call, but I also email once a month and I also text once a month at least.
Is that a mass batch text?
So you're not doing it personally to each person, it's one of those.
It's one of the smart plans.
What's the text saying?
They all say different, like I set up, I don't know exactly what they all say, but I have them all set up on smart plans to where, when I first get them in my database, they're getting like a text and an email, both for a couple of weeks. And then I kind of back off a little bit and it ends up being one text, hey, are you still looking? to buy or sell. I'd love to answer any of your questions. And then like the next month, it's probably, hey, have you seen anything that's interesting that you want to look at? I can set up a showing this week for you. When's a good time available? And then like another one, I don't know. They're all just but it's always open-ended questions, trying to get them to respond. And I do it through
Twilio.
Twilio.
Mhm.
And then my assistant is the one that manages the,
Are you doing that with the people that you have close relationship with? Or is that more your?
no,
general-
that's my like personal relationships. I only text them personally.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But leads that I do not know, that I've never met.
Sure.
Once I meet them, or once my assistant honestly like gets in contact with them,
Then it changes.
he takes them off the smart plan. Because he doesn't want to hound them too much, because he's gonna find out, okay, they want called back every 2 weeks. So he's personally following up with them, even if we've never physically met, he's building that relationship on the phone, and he wants to control how often they're connected.
Yeah.
Whereas people that are not connected, they're the ones on the smart plan that's constantly getting emails and texts and et cetera.
Yeah, no, that's great. So as you reach out and as we talk about, moving from a 19 to connect to a 36 touch program, basically there's two reasons that you get in touch with folks, and I'm pulling from the curriculum here. One is build our connection by getting to know their needs and wants, and on figure 12.5 at the bottom there, the 6 connecting questions, and Melissa kind of touched on this earlier. Yeah, this is what we're digging into, who, what, when, where, why, how, as it relates to their interest in real estate. And so we build connection, and we also seek to understand their needs and wants, so that the connection relationally and needs and wants. And then secondly, we're looking to elicit a response from them that puts you into dialogue with them as quickly as possible. In Shift, and some of you have heard this before, Gary talks about the importance of being able to have MOFRs. MOFRs, it's an acronym, make offer for immediate response. That is effectively, there's direct and indirect ways to do this, but it's putting an opportunity in front of your database for them to act upon. And we do this all the time. It can be a simple question. Hey, I want feedback on this, but more typically it's some sort of offer. Click here to get your free home valuation report. Click here to get this discount code, where you typically end up on someone's email list by responding to some sort of MOFR. So there's the indirect approach to a MOFR, I'm doing a giveaway. It's a way to deepen your relationship and be visible. And then there's a more direct approach that's related to real estate. And there's programs out there, Jose's team, they're kind of famous for the different programs that they run. Hey, buy this house, we'll buy yours, the Sell It Now program. Those are large scale that have private money behind them to make them possible. But we want to have conversation for a few minutes. And I'll have Melissa share in a second, but thinking about what are the things that you can call your people to and respond in the click here. A Facebook ad is a MOFR in some form or fashion, but calling your contact list to. Before we brainstorm that, Melissa, for you, as you think about what you've done in your business to kind of give people the chance to respond and show their interest in something, what are some examples that you've done over the last couple of years?
I've done the CMA, like always. If you want a free market analysis, I'm willing to, I've hand delivered it to people even. I did a thing where I sent out postcard and I had people calling and I was, dropping by their house, giving them CMAs. I always do at least one giveaway a year. This year, I'm going to start my pie day, where I will be reaching out to all my clients to pick out a pie and come in and pick it up. Last year I did like a Christmas thing where I was, call to action, like come in and, get your picture taken with your kids. And then I have a Christmas gift for you. And I think I did like Christmas cookies. So it was like a Christmas party.
With the home valuation report of the CMA, is it a email, click here if you want this, or is that just a question that you're asking in your outreach?
It's just a question I'm asking in my outreach. You really want to try to get to their house. That's the biggest thing. I mean, yeah, it's nice just to send somebody like the RPR value through an email, because I mean, my assistant can do that. But I usually, if it comes to me, I want to go to their house because I really want to see the condition of it. That way I can have more of a solid clarity on how much their house is worth, and it's not a guess, so. I'm trying to think what other things that I do. I mean, the thing is, Keller Williams, we have all events here, like you guys did the Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I sent out stuff and got my clients to sign up for the Easter egg hunt. So once again, Keller Williams is a good company that has big events that you, not having a large database maybe yet, you can start inviting those people to those events, and they're gonna be like, oh, wow, this realtor has events. They're not even thinking about it being a Keller Williams event. It's you personally
Yeah.
that's gonna make that event real to them.
Yeah, it's the MOFR, if the average person is transacting every 7 to 10 years. If all you're ever doing is checking in and say, hey, how's it going? What's new? That can be great in some cases and be not enough in other cases. And the MOFR provides an opportunity for people to say yes to something that isn't just a conversation with you. Which, shows their interest and can move them forward in the funnel. So let's take a couple of minutes to maybe brainstorm personally and then share in your room an idea for both a direct MOFR and an indirect MOFR. So direct is something specific to raise your hand for real estate. And then the indirect is raise your hand for deepening our relationship through an event, something along those lines. So take a couple minutes personally, and then take a couple more minutes in your rooms to share ideas. And then we'll reconvene in 5. I'm gonna bring it back together. All right, folks, if you want to land the plane in your conversations. And let's share a couple of examples of both indirect MOFers and more direct MOFers. So I'll share because it looks like Rob and Karen are getting back to their spots. We had indirectly, Kim, she's going to be sponsoring an event where she'll have a slide that'll go up front. And we're talking about the value of having a QR code, scan here for some sort of giveaway, something that the average person would raise their hand, say, sure, I'm interested enough in that to put my info in, and having a form. Hey, my name, my email address, and on a 1 to 10 scale, here's how interested I am in buying real estate, or here's in the next 2 or 3 years, here's what I would be looking to do. And then she can follow up accordingly. Here's a calendar. Hey, click here for a calendar of Halloween trick-or-treating schedules in our area, kind of value that is a click away, or something that's downloadable that you'd need to email to folks for a few things that we discussed. How about you guys? What indirect MOFers did you guys discuss? Karen, how about you go?
Well, I'm gonna just say the word and let Michael talk about it, but the chicken challenge.
Ooh,
The chicken challenge.
Oh, so a couple of weeks ago during Ignite, someone referenced that they had done a chicken challenge and they got a ton of feedback or engagement on Facebook from it. And I believe they ended up giving away, it was like vote on your favorite chicken, and the page ended up giving away maybe a couple gift cards to people, but it sounded like you got a ton of engagement.
Awesome, awesome. That was the big one that we had
What-
fun talking about, because there's all kinds of questions.
I missed a little bit of it. Was he giving away chickens? What was the offer?
Gift cards. What was your favorite chicken sandwich? Chick-fil-A, Cane's, or Popeyes?
Yeah.
So I used a question on Facebook, right? The people that answered the question were entered into a drawing to win a prize.
Gotcha.
And the prize was a
Nice.
gift card. So I guess the challenge would really be, what would be a really cool prize to get people to want to provide their contact information. With the holidays coming up, whatever toy that's going to be sold out for sure, buy one now, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Yep, it could be your favorite chicken, your favorite style of home. It could be your favorite genre of music or song. What was your high school theme song, your graduating year? theme song?
Yeah. It's asking a good question that people are glad to share, and giving them the chance to enter to win something
Right.
of any type. That's great. I love that. Rob, how about you guys?
Yeah, so we thought of a couple different ideas, wherever you're involved in, so say you have kids in school, whether it be just, putting your name on a water bottle, providing it to the school with, their logo. We also had the example of, we deal with a lot of small businesses, so not being afraid to ask them to leave your business cards there, out on the counter. And then also too, as you already alluded to, just like here at Elevate, we had a egg hunt. To not be afraid to invite your clients, it just gives you a good reason to reach out to them. Or not even your clients, but just people, your contacts, and gives you a good reason to reach out to them and follow up with them if they do or don't come, and just it gives you a good reason to, reach out to them.
Yep, leveraging other events, and we said the same thing. We did an Easter egg hunt and invite your clients. That's a reason for them to say, "Ooh, I can say yes to that." Is great. How about direct MOFer, something more specifically related to conducting real estate business?
Yeah, that was a larger struggle, because a lot of it for us, the conversation was, hey, what's your home worth? And there's different ways of or different approaches to to ask that, or to get responses, if they're interested or not. But that was really the only one that we could really think of as far as a direct offer.
How about you guys, Karen?
We talked about on Facebook, just putting it out there that as a realtor, you have access to reports and information. If you're interested in knowing, you know, what's happening in real estate on your street, please contact me or direct message me
Mhm.
for Neighborhood Nurture.
That's great. We had one, you know, this is another home value approach, but you know, what would you do with $30,000? And it's a creative way of getting to the equity conversation. You know, Preston saying, oh, you could ask the question and then you could follow up accordingly, or you could do a mailer that has a QR code that they scan. QR codes really do kind of open up the world to enabling random people to engage with you more easily. I would even encourage putting them on your signs, because the QR code there's just a link behind it. It's not like it's locked in for forever. And you could say, hey, you know, it takes them to whatever landing page that you can evolve over time. And it might just be your site, or it could be, hey, I'm running this thing here, an about me thing. It gives opportunity to more easily get in touch with folks. That doesn't require them picking up the phone, because we know people are less likely to do that now than ever. Great. Well, we are nearing the end. The last kind of major part of the conversation is the 36 touch plan. So the graphic on 12.7, we're not going to dive into it now. We're short on time, but basically get granular to use corporate speak, and take 5 or 10 minutes and write down what would you say. You know, and with the 4 telephone calls, you could just write Ford. But what are you saying in your biweekly emails? As you think about events, you know, are you hosting an event? Are you leveraging a market center event? Are you inviting people to something that's already happening? Are you running a giveaway? All of those are events. And the power of an event is not the event itself, it's in the invite. It's in the reason to be in touch with people. And then what might you do as far as promotional direct mail? You know, is it a calendar? Is it a RPR, home valuation report, something along those lines? So we're not going to spend time on that now, but I'd encourage you to take some time and get more specific, because I think we can say, oh, I need to be in touch, and we lose sight of that. And then goal setting to the now. This is the last page there before the success system. This enables you to move kind of the 36 into how do I actually spend my time? If I have 200 people in my database and I'm touching them 36 times a year, how many contacts is that in total over the course of a year? Anyone got quick math? 7,200. So if I'm touching 200 people 36 times a year, that's 7,200 total touches. And hopefully our databases get even larger than that over time. But even with that number, that might feel daunting. Oh gosh, I'm not doing anything right now, or I'm doing baby steps right now. But the goal setting to the now activity on 12.8 basically enables you to subdivide it into year. You know, so let's just use that number with calls. So the top there, if I've got 200 contacts times 4 calls per year, that's 800 calls per year. Let's divide that into calls per month. And I'm not doing the math here real quick. So 800 into 12, that's 66 calls a month. That's 16 calls a week and 3.3 calls a day. And breaking it down into that level enables you to actually act on that, as opposed to feeling stuck. So Melissa, thanks for sharing. Any kind of final kind of kicker notes that you want to hit, encouragements that you want to offer?
I would just say, just remember your database is your data bank.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Because right now, the people that are not responding to you, those are possibly going to be your sales for next year. Just don't give up on them.
Melissa's got a coaching call, so she needs to
Yeah,
hop
I need to
over.
get going.
But let's give a hand to Melissa for sharing from her life and business.
Yes, thank you for all being a part of it.
Any other, just as we conclude, and we can open up the Zoom, any other kind of ahas or action steps as you think about strengthening the relationship conversation from today? Preston.
I find that I work better when people reach out to me, because like I said, I struggle with reaching out to people,
Mhm.
but when they reach out to me, it's like 100%, like I'm.
Easy,
all
yeah.
in.
Mhm.
So I find that like when I ask questions online, just like broad questions, like what's stopping you from buying a house? That just gets that conversation started, and then that's where I do most of my.
You need to offer more mofers.
Yeah.
You know, that's the takeaway is
Yeah.
how do I drive inbound business? How do I get
Yeah,
people to
inbound
raise their
business.
hand?
Yeah, inbound business is the best way that I work.
Yeah, yep. And that doesn't mean that you're exempt from outreach,
Yeah.
but if you can say, hey, I love responding when there's something to respond around.
Mhm.
And so how do I create more opportunities for people to respond?
Yeah.
That's a great aha. Other thoughts or takeaways? Sam?
Right there with Preston, like it's easier for me when somebody comes to me about like needing help or whatever, so I think I'm going to implement that and try and figure out how to do like more stuff online to try and help ease that conversation a lot
Mhm.
easier for me, because that's something I struggle with as well.
That's great. That's great. Other thoughts? Any Zoom comments? Carlene, you've been quieter than normal.
I have. I guess my biggest thing is the mofer thing. Just trying to put into place, especially with the holidays coming up, doing something that's holiday based, circling back around with reaching out to people and getting in touch with them, especially around the holidays. People like to, I think, be more, I don't know. People are happier during the holidays. They're more apt to reach out to others during the holidays. So I think this would be an ideal time to either put together a function, an event, a giveaway of some sort, and just kind of focusing around, the Thanksgiving, Christmas holiday coming up. So that's something that I think I'm going to really hone in on and see if I can't get something put together, within the next couple weeks, whether it be, via email, online, through Facebook, mailings, whatever.
Love it. Love it. Awesome, folks. We are at time. Appreciate your attention and engagement today. I hope it added value to you as you grow your business. And we will see you here again tomorrow. Gina and Nikki Horvath are talking about qualifying buyers and sellers. Until next time.